This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Super J-Cast. I'm Joel Abraham, joined by Dave McDonald. Both of us very grateful for a relatively quiet week.
Yeah, no doubt. We were saying that before we hit the record button. Just how good it is to primarily be talking about in-ring action. Because we had some pretty good shows. We had some, maybe a show or two that was, what are you going to do? They can't all be home runs. I had some head-scratching stuff and some fun stuff and some stuff that'll stick with us for a while. So, yeah, it's good to actually have a show almost 100% dedicated to the in-ring New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Right, well, let's get on with it then. So, news, just a couple of items here. First of all, Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows have apparently signed with Impact Wrestling, which to me makes sense because, one, they're going to have that clause in their contract that allows them to work New Japan and they get paid in the meantime. So, it wouldn't make sense for them to not take up any employment until they're able to get back in Japan. So, we have a question on this from Bash. She says, with Carl and Doc signing with Impact but still can work New Japan, what do you think their roles will be?
I think they're solidly in it if, they're both being brought in at the same time. I mean, you would assume solidly in the tag team mix. I think they'll slide right in. I don't think anybody's shocked by that, right? But yeah, I think they'll just slide right on in and be a major player for the tag titles, no doubt.
Yeah, it's hard to say involvement further to that. Like, for example, is Carl Anderson going to make it into the G1? I guess that will depend on travel restrictions. When the G1 rolls around, if these wrestlers who are abroad at the moment are able to make it back to Japan on time. So we can keep our fingers crossed, but not sure about that at this point.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is. But, I mean, of the two, you would think Carl is probably... Not probably. I mean, he's in G1, right? I mean, Doc Gallows maybe not.
If they put Doc in the G1, I'm not watching it. I'm going to boycott it.
Oh, come on. You're watching.
We could have the rematch, the Doc Gallows versus Bad Luck Fale, which I'm told is one of the worst matches in New Japan history.
Oh, you've never seen it. You owe yourself. You got to take the bad to appreciate the good, right? So it's one of those that'll go down in history as maybe not one of the better ones. But yeah, I would think Carl's in it. Let's put it this way: if he can find a way with travel restrictions to get in, whenever G1 is, let's be honest, because there's really been no firm dates as of right now. I know we were looking at the autumn months, before everything went down and Olympics and all that stuff. So, I would say if he can find a way to get there, he's definitely slotted in there.
And the other piece of news was that New Japan have added more dates to the Summer Struggle Tour. So now we've got shows on 4 back-to-back shows, August 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th at Korakuen. On the 11th at Osaka Edion 2 and on the 16th in Shizuoka. So that's quite a few dates, Damon. And Nicole was suggesting this to me, that maybe there could be some sort of tournament, maybe a tournament with Jon Moxley vacates the US title. When you look at those 6 dates, does anything jump out to you at that?
Oh, but I mean, I know they've been away for a little bit, but it does seem like we're getting the most use out of Korakuen as we possibly can, right? I'm just happy to see it as a touring company again. Right? They're back in the swing of things. I don't know here's the thing too. You had mentioned Moxley and defending the U.S. title, and even other people who hold titles and might be difficult to defend. Do you think? I know that traditionally, if you don't show for these events, you're vacating the title. I mean, we've had that happen specifically with the U.S. title. Do you think that they'll have some type of special waiver, some type of special thing where, it's, we're all in a little bit of new territory here. Do you think that they'll make a exception in this case, or do you think it is tournament time?
I think so. I think I would be quite happy having the US title on ice for now. Keep it on Moxley until he's able to come back. I don't think it's such a commodity that, right, we've got to get it off him right now so we can have the US title back in the mix. I think having the heavyweight and the IC title together and then leaving the never openweight title as the de facto second belt is quite cool. I like that, having fewer titles, because it makes the never title look more prestigious by the fact that you've taken those two other singles titles off the table.
Yeah, and they're not mentioned. I mean, you never hear them, not even a whisper about them. So it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. Almost very similar to what we saw with the Intercontinental title at one point. It's weird because I'll watch AEW every once in a while, and like I have to be reminded that he's the U.S. champion. You know what I mean? Like I have to be like, oh yeah, their world champion is our U.S. champion. So yeah. I mean, look, everybody's kind of crossing their fingers as to when the rest of the roster can get back and get a full roster of New Japan Pro Wrestling. But I kind of like the idea of these two pockets kind of doing their own thing. It feels like, and because it does allow you to focus on people that maybe you haven't before. So there is something to be said about the fact that half the roster is in the United States and half the roster is in Japan. There is something that I do definitely enjoy about the fact that we get to focus on some people that maybe we haven't before.
Yeah, and I think you can build up that next challenge for Jon Moxley, maybe on these Lions Break Collision shows, so that by the time you are able to get him and a challenger in Japan, then you've built up a nice hot program there, and people are going to be champing at the bit, ready to watch that.
Yeah, I just worry about, like I said, the 14-day thing. I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, are we, the United States, are they on a travel ban from or to Japan? Do you know of?
I think so. I'd have to check, but it seems that most countries that are opening up...
Nobody wants us.
Yeah. US are blacklisted.
Yeah. I can't blame them, for Christ's sake. It is. I mean, you look at some of the numbers, and they're pretty staggering. So, yeah. I knew the UK we were not permitted. I didn't know if Japan was on that list. So that's going to be, it's going to be trouble. I mean, until things calm down here. And it feels like it's a handful of states, not more than a handful. I say a handful of states, but they're some of the more populated states that we have: Florida, Texas, California. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit, I think, before we see a full roster.
Well, we've got 3 New Japan Cup shows to review. So starting off with Wednesday, July the 1st. And our first New Japan Cup match was Yoshihashi defeating Bushi 10 minutes 22 seconds with Karma. This was a wrestling match that happened, Damon.
It sure was. It sure was. Look, you would have hoped that Yoshihashi would have I don't know, I was kind of hoping like the break would give guys a chance to kind of take a look at themselves in the mirror a little bit, refresh themselves, give themselves a new coat of paint. Whew, same old. And again, when we talk about Yoshihashi, and again, we do joke about the old bag of socks thing. It's not that he's not a good wrestler. It's just that he's there. He's just there. And it felt like Bushi was doing him no favors either. Yeah, it's just he's Yoshihashi, man. That's the best I can give you. He is that just bag of fucking socks, man.
All right, well, we're going to come back to discuss Yoshihashi later, but I do want to give a shout out to Bushi's costume. He had quite an elaborate get-up for this one, like kind of Masked Rider in the skeleton suit thing. So even if his wrestling bores us to tears, he's got his cool outfit. So He's got that going for his moment. Okay, next match was Sanada defeating Sho in 40 minutes 43 seconds with his skull end. I thought this one was okay. I thought it was good.
I liked it.
I thought Sho... okay, Sanada, I don't think his style of wrestling works with the empty arena stuff, because a lot of his offense are, sort of gimmicky things like the Paradise Lock, where if there's no fans to react to that, then it just comes off very flat. But even though he lost here, I thought Sho was the stand-up performer in this match, and throughout this tournament he has brought intensity, he's brought passion, hard hitting. He's the power junior guy, and I just think there's a lot of potential here. I know I was on Team Yo before, but the shifts that Sho's been putting in this tournament, I'm Team Sho now, and it looks great. He's got the new look. He's moved away from the sort of shiny gold outfits, idol Roppongi 3K gimmick thing, and he looks like a serious wrestler now. He's got the black trunks, the black hair. I enjoyed he's had in these multi-man matches some like post-match jaw-jacking with Shingo, and he is the person that in this match I came away, I think he made this match work, because he brought an intensity and an urgency to the match that you don't usually get with Sanada.
Yeah. He's been a low-key MVP for me, Sho. And you mentioned something about Sanada, and I think this holds true for a lot of the guys. They spent their entire careers. Well, let's put it this way. I don't think at any point did they think, wow, I got to really hone my empty arena wrestling skills, right? Everything they've done is built to elicit reaction from fans. From day one of wrestling school, slow down. Don't work so fast. Tell the story, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, now those same things. It's hard to have that translate to an empty arena. And you mentioned Sanada, but another guy that I feel like is in that same boat is Okada, where he's a master of big game, big match, big important spotlight matches. They're all in front of they're there to build and to captivate an audience, and it does seem like it's like, and again, Sanada's one of those guys too, where you're like, it really stands out, the things that just don't resonate with an empty arena, because he's been trained for X amount of years and has been wrestling for X amount of years, obviously with people in the building. It is weird watching those empty arena matches and seeing that, especially for two guys that, traditionally you're pointing a finger at and saying, they're top of the line workers, right?
Let's circle back to Sho here. We've got a couple of questions. George says, Sho's a total star. I know people knock his hype, but if I can buy Ishii as a potential heavyweight champ, then I can totally buy Sho. And Anders says, where do you see Sho going after his match with Sanada? So you probably won't have seen this statement, but there was some bad news that came from New Japan less than an hour ago. Yo posted on his blog that he's got a torn ACL.
Ooh.
So Yo is going to be on the shelf for a long time. That's a really serious injury. So
it is
terrible news, and we wish him all the best. Probably won't be seeing him until next year, we imagine. Maybe even Best of the Super Juniors next year, which makes me think this could be the end of Roppongi 3K. So please talk to us a bit about how you think, one, his performances and his direction prior to Yo's injury, and also now that Yo's been put out on the shelf for a while, what does this mean for Sho?
That's crazy news, actually. That's really depressing news. When you're talking about an ACL, that's, we're used to hearing that in your traditional sports, and yeah, you're right. That is a year. If it's a tear, that's a year. That's a year on the shelf. So yeah, Roppongi 3K is. We would have thought that would have been a little bit more of a dramatic end, but I would think it. Yeah, just where Sho's going, and it looks like Sho's all about the Never title at this point, right? With Shingo, and the interactions that they've been having these past couple of weeks, yeah, you could put a nail in the coffin of Roppongi, I would think, and that sucks. Man, you hear an injury like that. That's a long-term thing, and what sucks is that, especially when you talk about pro wrestling, that's a spot, and that's something that you've worked and built to have your position on a card. You're out of sight, out of mind for a year. Now it could make for a pretty great comeback, when he does return. But again, think about
you could have him come back with Lij.
Yeah, you could. That's a year, man. I got to be honest. One of the things that I was most concerned with in the back of my mind was these guys having 3-4 months off and then just hopping right back into the ring and being asked to perform at a very high level. And that usually equals a higher risk of injury.
Particularly these muscular injuries. It happens in football as well when you've had people who've had injuries that have ruled them out for several months at a time. When they come back, the ligaments and the tendons, they're not as supple as they were before, and it takes a while to get that back. And these kind of injuries are not common, but more you're more susceptible to be getting them if you've been inactive for a long time.
Do we know when he hurt himself?
I believe it was in the match with Bushi. I think there's someone was saying this on Twitter. Let me have a look. Just scrolling through here.
Because it did seem
when
like...
he does this is James Parsons at Sexy Submarine. When he does a plancher about a minute into the match with Bushi, you can see him hobbling pretty badly afterwards. So maybe it was that.
Yeah, and you know what? Now that you mentioned it, you really didn't see him after that. He wasn't on any of these multi-man tags, and specifically, I'm remembering the most recent show. I can't. That's tough news. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Yoshihashi get hurt too? Right?
Yeah, he did as well. We don't have any news on that, but there are rumours circulating that it's a potentially career-threatening one. But again, until I've heard some confirmation, I'm not going to pump the brakes on that for now. But yeah, bad news.
Yeah, it looked like his leg got caught up underneath him, if I'm not mistaken, and he was hobbling the rest of that match. God, and that's what I was worried about. And like I said, in the back of my mind, coming back hard from 3 months off. Ugh, terrible news. Terrible news, Joel.
So, I mean, presumably, Roppongi 3K, the junior tag team titles will have to be vacated.
Right.
Any indication of what to do with those? Anyone on the roster standing out to you as potential inheritors or challengers for that?
I mean, what, ELP and Ishimori first come to mind? I mean, Kanemaru and Despy. I would think those two would be, I don't know, first on my list, but those are the first two teams that come to mind. And again, it might not be a full-fledged tournament. It might just be, two teams that they deem as the number one contenders, and away you go. You can consider those belts vacated. And if they haven't been announced already for the shows coming up, I think you'll hear about it very soon.
And back to show then, what do you think his ceiling is now? Do you think he is he showing you enough to be in the mix for potential IWGP Heavyweight Champion, or do you think the height thing is still an issue?
I do. I hate to say it, and it's funny because you're right. One of the things that stuck out like a sore thumb was Ishii and how everyone seemed to tower over him. I even think even in the Hiromu match, where Hiromu was almost like looking down on him, just because he's taller than him. Yeah, but I think height's still an issue. I mean, I could absolutely see him with the Never title without question. Could I see him with Intercontinental or US? Yeah, I don't have a problem with either. But I just think height is just and how do you get over that, right? I mean, if you can get bigger, but how do you get taller? and you would think his growth is that we're at where we're at with that. So unless they invent some,
it's funny you should say that because we took Esther to the doctor this morning. It's nothing serious, but they checked her weight and her height, and the last time we took her there, she was a little bit underweight, as compared to the averages, but she's in the 50th percentile for weight. So she was, oh yeah, good. She's normal weight now. The doctor talking to her. She's still a little bit small for her age, and I was like, so what? Should we start stretching her then? Why are you telling me that?
Right? Like, how do you wait? Right. Again, what do you do? Get lifts? That was a weird thing for the doctor to say. I would have been like, what the fuck? Yeah, but I think it's, I say it's an issue, but again, you look at Ishii. I mean, he's a little bit more of a fire plug, and built, like a stocky heavyweight. But yeah.
I think I would like to see Sho now. Once he's done with the open weight never stuff with Shingo, I think there's a lot of potential in him having a run as a singles junior guy. Imagine him having a big title program with Hiromu or an El Desperado or people like that. Ishimori.
Yeah. I mean, again, it really depends on what they decide to do with that never title. And in my mind, once you start challenging for that title, it's hard for me to think of you as just a junior. And I say that in quotes. So, yeah.
Because I guess look at like when, sorry to interrupt, when Ospreay was challenging Ibushi for it in Wrestle Kingdom last year, then he was still a junior at that point, but it was kind of like junior with an asterisk, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah. And again, Shingo's always been that guy that's been, asterisk has been next to his name. So, again, it can be done. He can be a little bit of a tweener going back and forth, but yeah, I mean, I think any of the secondary titles is an absolute possibility for sure.
We had Taichi defeating Kota Ibushi in 80 minutes 8 seconds with a Black Mephisto, and again, I thought this was a good match, and I always really like the closing stretches for Taichi matches, like when they were just kicking lumps out of each other. I thought that was really, really fun, really interesting, and just this whole thing with Ibushi, Taichi, and Zack and Tanahashi, I think as a build to a tag team title match, it's been outstanding. This is exactly what we've wanted for years. So rather than me looking at this through the lens of the quarterfinals of a singles tournament, I'm looking at as also serving the function of building up this tag title feud, and I think they've done a tremendous job with that. So there was a lot of run-ins and interference with Zack and Tanahashi and that, but I thought it worked given that it's been a long-term build with these guys feuding over the tag belts.
I feel exactly the same way. I'll take the I guess in some people's eyes, the Ibushi not having the greatest New Japan Cup, or Zack, or even any of the four, and I'll take that sacrifice, knowing that for the first time in what feels like forever, we actually have an exciting, interesting, fun tag team situation for those titles. I mean, they look like studs with those titles. You know what I mean? Like they look like they've had those titles for years, right? And they look like a mainstay in the tag division. So, I'm willing to take the loss for, again, what might be considered a disappointing New Japan Cup run for all four of them, knowing full well that there's a goal here, and that's an exciting tag tournament, or not tournament, but tag situation.
Just want to talk about Taichi briefly, because he's got wins in this tournament over Tanahashi and Ibushi. Did that shock you? And do you think his stock has raised in this tournament for you?
Has to be, right? I mean, when we were doing our pick'ems, that was the big thing. Like, is New Japan going to give Taichi a win like that? And we mentioned, Tanahashi being okay with lying down to a guy like Will Ospreay, right? So I would you don't get wins like that and not have your stock raised. I still giggle at people who, just hand wave Tai Chi, and it's just like I don't understand it. Like the guy's had. I mean, if you're looking at it objectively, fantastic end of 2019, and he's look, you're going to get bullshit with him, right? You're going to get some nonsense, but I think overall his production's been great, and I don't know. There is a little bit of joy watching people melt down when a guy like Tanahashi lies down for him.
And the next match we had, the main event was Evil defeating Hiroki Goto in 18 minutes 25 seconds. Evil winning with the Evil. I expected more from this match, and we're going to talk about Evil more later, but just with matches like this, he is a guy who I think is I'm starting to sell my stock in Evil, because when you get matches that look good on paper, you're like, this one should be good. I think Evil's going to have a good performance here. And okay, with a caveat that it's empty arena and no one is really knocking it out of the park, with a very few exceptions here. It's becoming a trend rather than an exception, isn't it? Where you get these matches with Evil and you're like, oh yeah, this is going to be good, and then you watch it and it's a bit disappointing and a bit flat, like this.
Yeah. I mean, both those guys, though, I mean, traditionally we've laid the boots of Goto many times for just that very reason. And then you get two of these guys together, in the same ring, and it like on paper it feels like it should have been much better. And this is not to say that match was terrible. It really wasn't. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm not into either of them. There was really no rooting interest. My rooting interest was, let's get through this. That's never a good thing.
And it was a main event, though. It's just the way it was positioned. I expected more.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did. I don't think you're the only one. And again, you're right. It is empty arena. It is, but yeah, I mean, there is a certain threshold that you would love to see for a New Japan Pro Wrestling main event, and I don't know if that one reached anywhere near where we thought it would be. That being said, I mean, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag here early, but are you surprised that they have so much faith in Evil at this point?
Yeah, I was shocked by the fact that he's gone all the way to the final. I wasn't expecting that at all. But maybe we should stick a pin on that and come back to that later in the show when we talk about his upset wins.
Yeah, and because again, I feel like I'm just shocked that the company still puts a lot of faith in him at this point. But okay, yeah, let's table that and we'll come back to that.
So Thursday, July 2nd, opening match, which I was surprised it was the opening match, was Hiromu Takahashi defeating Tomohiro Ishii, 19 minutes 29 seconds with a time bomb 2. Big upset, big shock, because I thought this was going to be the point where Hiromu's run comes to an end. He's already beaten 2 heavyweights, and I thought Ishii would be a bridge too far, but it wasn't. And this, to me, this is my favourite match of the New Japan Cup so far. This is the blueprint for empty arena wrestling, much like the Sho versus Shingo match was. High pace, high intensity. They didn't work a traditional match structure that depended on involvement of the fans. They just battered each other, and I thought Hiromu and Ishii just both knocked it out of the park here. Just tremendous, and I bought every single one of the near falls in that closing stretch. When he landed the time bomb and Ishii kicked out of it, and then all the near falls involving Ishii, like he had that second rope suplex, and I was just living or dying by every fall there. It was so exciting, and it was, I think, the only match in this tournament, I would say, where I forgot that it was empty arena.
Yeah, one of the few anyway. The idea of Hiromu beating Ishii, was a little out there for a lot of people, because again, he's got to beat 3 heavyweights to make that happen. And again, the 2 that he had, I mean, they're lower mid-card guys, right? Yano may be a mid-card guy, but Holm, nobody gives a fuck. This one was the shock. and Ishii would hit like the big moves, get into your fall, hit another big move, get into your fall, and you're just kind of waiting for it to happen, for the axe to fall. And the fucker kept kicking out and kept kicking out, and it's building your hope. And trust me, in the back of my mind, you're sitting there thinking, all right, well, the carpet's going to get pulled out from underneath us, and eventually one of these big moves is going to be it. Don't get your hopes up, right? And then fucking he gets. I mean, that was the first time in months. I mean, probably since Wrestle Kingdom. Let's be truthful, where a finish of a match or a closing stretch of a match actually got me out of my chair and got me, whoa, shit, and excited again for pro wrestling. Look, to me, and again, Ishii is a guy who everybody kind of wants to point a finger at, be like, well, why can't he be IWGP World Champion? He should have had it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fair enough. There are arguments there. But he is the ultimate gatekeeper. Let's be truthful, especially from a babyface perspective. The fact that New Japan had though the guts to do that, I think is pretty telling. That again, that could have very easily have been an Ishii win, and then you got Okada Ishii, which, look, nobody's ever disappointed with that. And it would make perfect sense, and no one would complain. No one, I don't think, would bat an eye if Hiromu lost that match. But they did a gutsy thing, and they made Hiromu that much more strong, and that much more of a name, and that much more of a guy who's really going to carry that junior division for a long time. I think that's a significant win, more than just a New Japan Cup win. That's okay, this guy is a stud win. And again, to have a match with Okada after that, the next night, and have a really great match, in fact. Again, I think this tournament shows on that short list for MVP, but Hiromu's got to be right there with the top, if not the top for MVP.
Yeah, these traditional rules, well, unspoken rules that we have been used to in previous years with New Japan, like juniors always lose to heavyweights, that is starting to get turned on its head. And you can see just the slow burn with this story of the elevation of the juniors and Hiromu wanting to take on the heavyweight champion as he's junior champion, just bubbling away. And this win over Ishii has definitely poured a lot of fuel on that fire. And I just like the way that he used the Time Bomb 2 move to beat Ishii, which he hadn't used since Wrestle Kingdom, which he used to defeat Will Ospreay. So that's like his super move to defeat people. Maybe that's his heavyweight killer move. So I like the way that he dug that one out of his pocket in this match with Ishii. We had a question from Biss who says, thoughts on the Hiromu and Ishii size difference or lack thereof?
I mean, like I said, it was pretty funny that Hiromu was looking down on Ishii. One thing I wanted to bring up, though, maybe the biggest takeaway, Joel, is what you mentioned when it comes to the juniors. I mean, one, the tag situation, a vast improvement. That's one takeaway you're getting from these New Japan Cup shows. And the second is again even more of that blurring of the line of juniors and heavyweights. Sho and once again Hiromu. It was pretty amazing how look, I've always said that line of here's what it is. I think right now they're doing it the right way, in that there is this kind of middle ground where juniors can challenge for a heavyweight title, but yet still maintain what makes the junior heavyweights very special in New Japan. I wouldn't want to abolish the junior heavyweights. I think they're doing the right thing in having that little middle ground of guys who can kind of go up and down at a moment's notice. But yeah, I think one of the takeaways coming out of this is that junior heavyweight even more blurred, and I really like that a lot.
Second match on the show was Evil defeating Yoshihashi in 2 minutes after a referee stop. So, I mean, after I watched that Hiromu Ishii match, I was thinking, I do not envy Yoshihashi and Evil having to go out and follow that up. But then when they did the angle, and it was an angle more than a match, I thought, wow, that is brilliant booking, because they've avoided, having to have like a plodding 17-minute back and forth match that no one's really going to care about after that exciting opener. And it's added a bit of spice to Evil, because now you're thinking, he's showing this edge that, he cheated to beat Goto, and now he's cheating to beat Yoshihashi, and he's living up to his name here. He's being evil, and I found that really interesting. So I enjoyed this segment or match, call it what you will, but also now with the knowledge that Yoshihashi has what could be a very serious knee injury, it looks like it was forced upon them. And all things considered, I thought they made the best of a bad situation here.
Yeah, on the fly booking, right? They were dealt a bad hand. I think this match would have been structured differently if the injury didn't occur. It was quite obvious that Yoshihashi couldn't really do much. So they killed 3 birds with 1 stone. Getting Evil to be evil. 1, 2, getting Evil the win that he was going to get anyway. And 3, getting Yoshihashi in and out of there without, furthering. He's not going to be able to work a 10-minute match with any success. He can barely do it with 2 good legs. You're going to ask him to do it with 1. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know if the match structure would have been the same if the injury didn't occur. But a little on the fly booking, it was smart. And here's the thing too: it was, anybody who had to follow that match, that Hiromu Ishii match, God bless him. But yeah, 2 minutes in, out, angle, couple chair things to the knee, and yeah, that's it. I just, again, look, I know it's pro wrestling, and I know, but man, how many ref bumps do we see in this tournament? It felt like every fucking match had a ref bump, number 1. And number 2, again, Evil with chairs right in front of the fucking ref. No disqualification. And then he hits a move and it's a win. It's kind of like, what the fuck? All right, but 2 minutes, again, we had to get out of the situation, so I'm not going to hold it against them.
No, you're right. I do agree with you, because that is something that we expect from Bullet Club. Jay White matches with Gedo's interfering. You expect it to some extent for Suzuki-gun in a Taichi match. He'll bust out the claws or kick someone in the nuts. But then if you've got Evil doing that as well, then it's too much. It's overkill. Although, having said that, the way that he did beat Yoshihashi did make me think that there was a decent chance of him beating Sanada the next night, because I thought they were trying to tell a story, and it would be weird if he'd just done all this cheating against Goto and Yoshihashi and then just lost clean to Sanada. So it did add a bit of intrigue to me for the semi-final match. And then that brought us to Kazuchika Okada defeating Taiji Ishimori in 60 minutes 52 seconds with the Cobra Clutch. And yeah, just like we discussed about Okada, I think his style is one that has suffered from being in an empty arena, and he has changed it up in terms of his moveset. He's been more economical, like it's a kind of minimalist Okada. It's like he knows there's no fans out there, so he's not going to kill himself putting on high impact, high paced matches, and like he's using the Cobra Clutch instead of the Rainmaker for whatever reason, maybe because he's fighting a load of juniors and old men, and he thinks that they're below him, and he doesn't have to use the Rainmaker against them. But again, just the structure of the matches hasn't really changed. And when we have, interference with Gedo in this match as well, it just like the extended heat segments where Okada's getting beaten down, it doesn't work when there's no fans, because there's no one cheering for him. So this match was a bit disappointing for me.
Me too. I know that they've had some history in the past when it comes to where they've come from. Yeah, I don't know. Like if you gave me this match on paper and told me that this was going to, this was a possibility. I don't know. It felt like I don't want to. I don't like it when people say that they left things on the table or because when are they ever going to wrestle again? It's not like Ishimori is going to be challenging anytime soon for any type of heavyweight title. Seems like there'll be quite a distance between the two for the foreseeable future. I don't know. I just you give me those two names, and I just thought. And again, look, a lot of this is I'm pining away based off of names, but again, are they going to go balls out in an empty arena when realistically you don't necessarily have to? And there are guys that if you're in the main event, and we've seen plenty of matches. Yuji Nagata is one guy where you could say, you don't really have to do all that, but yet did it, and it was great. I don't know. It just felt like there was something missing. And I don't know if that was chemistry. I don't know if that was pace. I don't know if that was empty arena, match structure. I don't know. It was something that was a little bit missing there.
Main event was Sanada defeating Taichi in 22 minutes 50 seconds with an O'Connor bridge, and I thought this one was good. Again, for me, Sanada, the success of his matches lives or dies on the quality of his opponent. If he has, because he doesn't do the strong emoting and he doesn't bring that urgency, so he needs his opponent to do that. So in the previous match, he had a very energetic underdog opponent in the form of Sho who was going to bring that pace to the match, and in this Taichi match, he has an opponent who is going to do all the emoting and bring the character work to the match and provide that foil for the kind of the po-faced, enigmatic Sanada, who is not a guy who's going to be doing the sorts of hamming up to the crowd like other people, other wrestlers are. So I thought in terms of the dynamics between the two, it worked, and I thought this was a pretty good match, all things considered. Even though, as I've said for a lot of these matches, the Sanada style doesn't work so well with empty arenas. I'm just repeating myself at this point, and it was too long. But what did you think of it?
The problem I have with Sanada is this. I mean, countless, but let's add this to the list. There's nothing that he does that I buy. You know what I mean? There's nothing that he does that I'm like, oh, that looks like it could put somebody away. And I think that's a big problem for me.
Yeah, I like his moveset. His strikes don't look strong. He's got weak-looking strikes, and then you put together his signature moves like the Paradise Lock, which is really hokey, the Skull Ends, which looks, he's squeezing the top of someone's head. Right. The Moonsault is not a particularly high-impact move. He's lacking that moveset that makes him look like he's hurting his opponent.
Right, that moonsault he misses 50% of the time. There's nothing that he does where it's like, oh, okay. And that might have something to do with it. Like, nothing looks impactful. I don't know. Look, I think, here's what I don't want, Joe. I don't want at the end of the day, when this is all said and done, and New Japan Cup is in the rearview mirror, I don't want to see, like, this better lead somewhere. Because if this leads to all guys just in LIJ getting in the ring, shrugging their shoulders, and then fist bumping at the end, I'm going to be really fucking disappointed. Because it feels like we've seen this every fucking tournament. Like, this better be the beginning of the end of somebody leaving and somebody doing something remotely interesting instead of being bottom feeders for LIJ. Look, Sanada's not for me. And it was one of those things, especially ringing true in New Japan Cup, is that he does nothing that's impactful.
Okay, yeah, well, we're going to, again, touch on our predictions and hopes for that final match later on in the show. So let's move along to night 8 of the New Japan Cup, which was last night, and we're not going to go into too much well, I don't want to talk about the Mighty Man tags at all. I've got nothing to say about them. But this show was notable because part of it was on primetime TV Asahi. It was the first time in 34 years. And just one little takeaway from the opening matches was Gabriel Kidd, who I thought cut a really good post-match promo about his encounter with El Desperado and Suzuki at a WCPW show 4 years ago in the UK. And as he did some grappling with Suzuki, and he was talking about how he remembered that and about the junior division not being pushover. So I think that's one that's worth going out of your way to watch, just because a little bit something extra from the Young Lions and planting the seeds for future stories down the line. I'm always appreciative of that. I don't want to see all the stories exclusively for title programs. So it's great to see just a little long-term thing bubbling under with the Young Lions. So good job to Gabriel Kidd with that. And I guess the first notable thing from this show was the debut or the re-debut of Hirai Kawato, or Master Wato, as he's now called. And we've got a lot of questions about this one, Damon. People are fired up about this. So Real Foreigner says, regardless of the debut not being in front of fans, why in the hell is his first feud with Doki? They're setting him up to be a lower card act from the start. Omar says, with Kawato returning after weeks of hyping up to face Doki, do you think New Japan don't hold him in high regards, or is it just circumstances? Also, what do you think his big program after Doki will be or should be? And Brian says, is Master Wato our new Bullet Club hunter Yoshitatsu? What crime had he committed against Gedo to deserve this treatment? And Ben says, is Doki versus Kawato New Japan's version of live action role playing? So you go first, Damon. What were your thoughts watching this?
I couldn't believe it. I really could not believe it. First, and I'm going to hold out on the gimmick itself, because we haven't seen. I mean, we saw him come out, and it is what it is, and it's until we kind of see it in action, I'm gonna reserve judgment. It's not off to a promising start. You've spent 3 weeks, 4 weeks, how many weeks it's been, with these videos where feet are dancing in between bamboo trees, and every show had these videos. And then you do the final video, you introduce him, and then the house lights dim and he's coming out. And even the announcers were thrilled, and it seemed like an exciting moment. Then he hits the ring, he cuts his little promo, does his little hand gesture, and is destroyed by a guy who arguably is, at best, a guy who's going to be eating pins in six-man tags for Suzuki-gun. If you were to rank Suzuki-gun members, Doki's at the bottom of the list. And what you've done is you got a guy who you've built up. And I struggled. I actually thought, have I ever... In my history of watching pro wrestling, have I ever seen anything like that? Where it was video, vignettes and hype videos, and then have the person come out and get destroyed. Not by a mid-carder, not by, somebody high on the card, not by, by a bottom feeder. And let's be clear, destroyed. I understand that there is this storyline with Mexico and Doki not, taking lightly not taking kindly to a lot of the guys coming over for excursions, and what do they call? What does he call him? A hipster luchador or something along those lines. I understand that, but know that Doki is who Doki is, and this is not a heat up of Doki. Let's be very clear on that. This has to, and I know they have a match scheduled, right? They did sign a match for Dominion, right? It has to be a squash match that Kawato wins. Has to be, because if not, you're basically telling me, and which was pointed out in those questions, that he is a lower mid carder. You talk about, in the Cup where. Guys should be beating guys in under 10 minutes because they should. And again, I'll give you an example. Tanahashi should be beating Taguchi in under 10 minutes or something along those lines. You get my point, the point that you made. If he doesn't do that, though, if this is like a longer than 5 minutes, I mean, you've established that was it now Master? What was he called? Master who?
Master Wato.
Yeah, Master Wato. Well, Master Wato is going to be mid-card Wato if he doesn't squash Doki and establish the fact that he's not some mid-card J-Brone.
Let me play devil's advocate here. When we were watching Kawato as a young lion, he had good connection with the crowd, but his whole thing was that he was the goofy babyface who would bite off more than he could chew and get battered and just look like a bit of a geek, right? So when he went off for excursion, what were you expecting when he came back?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I was expecting let's put it this way. I don't know what gimmick I was expecting, but I'll tell you what I was expecting in regards to position on a card. Only because look at the past history in the past 5 years. Jay White, Evil, Hiromu. I mean, these guys are being brought back, and Sho and Yo. I mean, they're being brought back more than lower mid card guys, that's for sure. And by no means were any of those guys that were brought back destroyed by somebody like Doki. You know what I mean? Like it just it blew my mind that why would you? Wouldn't it be the other way around? Wouldn't Doki try to attack and then Kawato is not only beats that attack, but destroys Doki to show his dominance and what he's learned or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it just made no sense to have him get destroyed like that.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because, like you mentioned before, there is the underlying story with Doki and his grudge against the Lucha hipsters. So if you were going to pick an opponent, given that Kawato's just come from Mexico, then to me, Doki makes sense, just given that history that they both got in Mexico. And the fact that he jumped him with a steel pipe, it wasn't as if they had a fair one-on-one fight in the ring and Kawato got destroyed. So I just think I will reserve judgment until I've seen this Kawato-Doki match. And I'm okay with how it was presented so far because I was always... My understanding was that Kawato was, a bit of a goofy guy, and I wasn't expecting him to be skyrocketed to, the upper echelons of the cards. Not yet, at least. So, yeah, I'm very much wait and see at this point.
All right. I mean, you're taking it better than I am. Because I can't. If somebody can help me, I can't remember in the history of watching pro wrestling having a guy debut, and again. It's not like the Four Horsemen are beating up, Magnum TA. This is Doki, with all due respect.
Okay, let's go to the next match on the card, which was Evil defeating Sanada in the semi-final after 20 minutes 13 seconds with the Evil, and Evil advancing to the New Japan Cup final. So, a few questions here. Brian says, do you think there's an audible call during the Sanada-Evil match and the result was changed due to Sanada injury? I heard a lot of speculation about this with Sanada having a bad shoulder, but Sanada does have a match scheduled at the final, so it can't have been that bad, and I don't think it would have been bad enough for them to decide on the fly during a match, let's change the booking of the New Japan Cup and have you go through to the finals instead of me. I don't think they did that.
No,
but
I don't think so.
I think there definitely was... I'm going to be kind to Sanada here and say that something was wrong because... he was really sloppy in this match. Like, there was that bit when he was doing, like, the Shiranui, the sliced bread number 2, and he just completely fucked it up and landed on his head. And at that point, I was ready to just lay into him and be like, this guy cannot hang with the top guys in New Japan. He's slower than everyone else. His execution isn't as crisp as everyone else. He hits weaker than everyone else, and he shouldn't be there, blah, 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 blah. But, again, I'm feeling generous today. Maybe he was hurt, so... I'm just going to add those mitigating circumstances to this match because this match I didn't think it was great. For a New Japan Cup semi-final, I expected more from this.
Look, you saw the same thing I did, and that was like he went into that turnbuckle. Here's like I watched it twice, that particular spot, and he went into that corner, and he stutter steps. Like I don't understand how that is injury related. Like he went into that all as if he was bailing out of going into that corner. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say he was scared or anything like that, but there was hesitation. Like he didn't hit the corner with any confidence. It felt like, and I don't. Maybe that is injury related. Maybe he going into that corner, he felt something wasn't going to go right, and the injury being the cause of that. I don't know, but it looked like it was more to do with his timing and his feet and his agility, I guess. So yeah, that had me scratching my head too. Look, again, I said it earlier. There has to be an end result here, where either Sanada leaves, Evil leaves.
Okay, so let me jump in there because we've got a lot of questions here, and so maybe this can lead on to your thoughts. So Flynn says, seeing Evil be an absolute bastard to Paul Yoshihashi makes me really want to see him in a heel role, as it would refresh his act. I just don't see him as a fit in Suzuki-gun or Bullet Club. Do you think it would be better to have some heels as unaffiliated to factions so they can be lone wolf style? Mark says, if this Evil Sanada issue escalates, who do you see leaving LIJ? Evil, Sanada, or both, and where do they go? Personally, I think Evil will be a good fit for Suzuki-gun as they need more beef. Chris says, with his newfound evilness, do you see Evil leaving LIJ? I can't see him tagging with Sanada after this. And Jason says, what do you do with Sanada now? I figured the story was he loses to Naito and turns post-match. So yeah, Evil continued his cheating ways there. He punched Sanada in the dick, and he said he's going to do whatever it takes to win. I've had other people speculating that with Bullet Club not having a credible heavyweight in Japan at the moment, that Evil could be a guy to jump, and the way that he's wrestling and the cheating does kind of fit with their cheating style, as it were. So what do you think they should do with this, and what do you think they will actually do? Because there have been times before where we've speculated and thought, oh well, yeah, I think there's going to be a new faction here, or this guy's going to go to this faction, and it very, very rarely happens. So right. I can't really say with any confidence that I think it will happen, but I think it should.
I do too. I think if anybody needs, as we call it, the new coat of paint, it might be Evil. We've always said that the gimmick probably does him more harm than good at this point. Again, I'll tell you what I don't want. I don't want to see at the end of this show where Naito is in the center of the ring and all the other LIJ members are there, and it's okay, everybody's got their fist in the air and there's hesitation, and it's okay, well, we'll let bygones be bygones during the tournament, and back fists in the air. Like, I don't want to see that. I've seen it 17,000 times already. G1s, New Japan Cups, I'm over it. Would you be into Evil Naito feud?
It very much feels like a placeholder thing. Like if we do get an Evil versus Naito main event for Dominion, that feels like the sort of thing that you're only doing because you got 3,500 fans there, that in a event that's going to sell out regardless. I don't see Evil in his current form as a credible threat to the biggest title in the business. No.
Right. Here's the problem I have, though. Even if you did do something along the lines of the Bullet Club thing, he's still the same guy in the same position. We're just moving him to a different faction. Like, it's not like he's becomes elevated. I mean, the feud will be hot, I guess, right? But after that's done, what do you do with him? He's gonna be Evil in Bullet Club.
It's the same as Sanada. Like, he's just got a lot of moves that take me out of the match. Like the silly assisted spots that he does with the referee, and the stupid thing with the chair, hitting like a baseball off the other guy. It feels like a checklist of goofy spots rather than actual offensive maneuvers that you would use within the context of a wrestling match.
Right. I mean, look, to me, and I don't want this to be shitting on LIJ Day, but to me, they're two of the most uninteresting guys in New Japan Pro Wrestling. because again, we somebody just laid out an entire scenario, and that's going to be. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. That's going to be a good couple months if they do something with Evil and he turns and leaves and all that stuff. Then what? Then what do you do with the dude? Like, to me, he becomes middle of the pack Bullet Club. Which he's middle of the pack. Not even. I mean, if you're looking at Lij right now, it's Naito, Hiromu, probably right on his heels, and then it's everybody else.
I would have Shingo as a clear number 3 ahead
Right.
of Evil and Sanada.
Right. I would too. And again, people are going to point, oh, he's, Sonata's super over in Japan. Okay. All right. I don't know. I just, two guys that really, I feel like there's not much steam left in either of these two. They need a new coat of paint big time. I think Evil could use a new gimmick. That might be something that you would do. But as of right now, just moving him to Bullet Club is okay. You're going to have a hot month, and then Evil Bullet Club. That's what you got.
Lest we forget, David, that Evil is also a never openweight 6-man title holder. So
Not bad.
I don't know if that's going to throw a wrench into the works of him leaving LIJ. I mean, I was discussing this with Nicole earlier, and she said you could just freebird it. If he quits LIJ, then you just have Bushi, Shingo, and Sanada as the 6-man champions rather than Evil. So I don't think that is a serious obstacle in the way of Evil leaving to join another faction or form another faction. But again, we'll come to it when we preview Dominion, but I just can't help feeling that we're just going to get Evil versus Naito, and then they all fist bump at the end, and the whole thing's forgotten. But anyway, let's move on to the other side of the bracket, which was Kazuchika Okada defeating Hiromu Takahashi in 27 minutes via referee stoppage. And I said on Twitter I thought this was good, but it wasn't great, especially compared to the Hiromu Ishii match the night before. I mean, somehow this match went 27 minutes, but never really got into that fifth gear that I was so hoping for. And I know you sort of poo-pooed this idea before about leaving stuff on the table, but it did feel that exactly the words you used, that they were holding something back and maybe planting some seeds for a rematch somewhere down the line, because Hiromu didn't tap, and at the end Okada gave him that very sort of patronising attaboy promo, like the pat on the head. Oh, well done, you gave it a good shot, kid. Now fuck off back to your junior division. So that was the kind of vibes I got. And then Okada did specifically say in his post-match stuff that if you want to have that big junior champion versus heavyweight champion match, then you can have it with me in the future, not with Naito. So it did feel that they were, like I said, just sowing those seeds for Hiromu versus Okada rematch somewhere down the line, as well as Hiromu versus Naito. So I felt, even though the match did disappoint me somewhat, there's plenty of smoke there.
See, I really like this match. And if that's the case where they did leave stuff on the table, then God bless them, because that rematch is going to be pretty fucking special. I like the match a lot. Again, I think a lot of the empty arena criticisms that we've had and laid on Okada a little bit, and again, no doing of his own. It is what it is. Some of that shined through. It wasn't as reckless a match as maybe people might have wanted, especially when it came to Hiromu's offense. But I really liked the match. I liked the way it was laid out. I think both those guys are really special. I thought the match had an energy, and it had a feeling like, for the first time, it felt like a really special match, and like an important match. It felt like champion versus champion, even though it wasn't. Again, I think a lot of the criticism that I would have for this match would be that, again, because of the empty arena. But honestly, I felt like that those 15. How long did you say ago? 16 minutes? How long?
The whole match was 27 minutes.
27 minutes. Oh, okay. It didn't feel like 27. Like, there was at no point was I looking at my phone. right? And that's really like the judgment.
Yeah, I didn't think it was boring. It was just, to me, it lacked that crazy bit at the end that we got in Hiromu versus Ishii, but we didn't get in this. I didn't feel at any point that Okada was in serious danger of losing. I know they had that little bit where he was about to get hit by the time bomb too, and then he sort of wiggled out of that and transitioned it into the tombstone. So maybe I'm sort of talking myself out of it, but I don't know.
What do you think of the Cobra Clutch?
Okay, I'm glad you said that because we've got questions about this as well. So Eric says, is getting a submission over the only thing Okada just can't do? I wouldn't mind a new submission finish, but not another awful Cobra Clutch variation. I guess we'll keep this one until crowds are back so we can see how they react. And David says, Skull End or Okada's weird Cobra Clutch? What is worse? What is worse? I know it's harsh, but both moves look so bad that I can't buy them as convincing finishes. I thought it had been built up well throughout this tournament. The fact that he'd used it to put away all these other guys, and the way he used it against Hiromu, where he hit him with the two, maybe three lariats before locking it in again and choking the life out of him, was effective. But I think it needs to be it's got to look more painful and more snug and more vicious, and sort of wrench it in a bit tighter, and because at the moment it looks a bit weak to me.
Yeah, I feel like when Hiromu goes for the arm bar, that to me that looked a little bit more dangerous than the Cobra Clutch. Again, it's pro wrestling. You can get any move over if you give it enough time. Doesn't look devastating, does it? Skull End is worse. Skull End looks like anybody with any athletic ability could just slide their head out. This one at least looks like you're locked in. Neither of them are doing it for me though. He does struggle with that, doesn't he? Submission finishers. I don't know why, but nothing really looks all that devastating. Again, it's conditioning. It's educating fans, but.
There doesn't seem to be a pale to it because he did it, I remember, at the back end of 2017 in all the Road to the Tokyo Dome shows. Yeah. I remember specifically against Hiromu, actually. I think it was Okada Ospreay versus Naito Hiromu to obviously set up that Okada Naito match. And there was the bit where he was using the Cobra Clutch to choke out Hiromu in front of Naito to send him a message. I might be misremembering that. So I thought, okay, so he's building this up and it's going to be a big spot during the Wrestle Kingdom 12 main event, and it wasn't. I don't think he used it at all. So it seems that he's sort of doing it on a whim. He's like, okay, I'm going to run with this submission for a bit, but if this does end up leading into a big near fall at a big event like a King of Pro Wrestling or even the Tokyo Dome, then fair enough. But he's got to stick the course. He's got to keep with it. I know we said it looks rubbish,
do
you know what I mean? There's got to be a payoff to it.
Yeah. Again, it feels like it's what would normally... I don't want to say it's a transition move. But here's the thing. All Japan, they got over a fucking headlock. You know what I mean? Or chin lock. So, again, you can get over any move. It just doesn't seem to... it just doesn't look like... Here's the thing. To me, the pseudo Rainmakers that were delivered before the Cobra Clutch looked more finish off pro wrestling match than it felt like almost anticlimactic when he locked in the Cobra Clutch after it was all said and done. So, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, right now it's falling a little flat for me too.
Chris asks, after the Hiromu Okada match, what's the biggest show you could realistically have the junior title headline?
Good question. Dontaku?
Haven't we already had it headlining? I
thought so.
Recall
Kushida?
No, wasn't there a Ishimori
Will?
Dragon Lee match that
Might
headlines?
Be, yeah.
I think that was a Dontaku anyway. I'd have to look that up.
But a show like that, you could do it. You can do a B show, and headline. It's got to be a sexy match. Like, here's the thing. I think Hiromu right now can headline. I don't want to say just about any show, but like any of the B shows, you could absolutely put Hiromu in to headline that show. I don't think there's any B show that where I wouldn't feel confident in it doing well with Hiromu on top.
So, given Hiromu's performance in the New Japan Cup against heavyweights and all the talk about him facing heavyweight champion, give me percentage likelihoods that you think we see junior champion Hiromu Takahashi facing heavyweight champion Naito, Okada, whomever, in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom next January.
20%. I don't see that. Can you see that headlining the Dome?
I can't. I think there's a non-zero possibility. I would say, yeah, maybe 20. I'll probably go slightly higher, maybe 35, a tentative 35%. I just think the way they keep talking about it, we've had multiple wrestlers talking about it, that as it was last year with the double title thing, I think it's more than just chat.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Here's the thing. I think they have a long way to go to recondition people that juniors are that credible, especially against a heavyweight. They got a long way to go. And again, Ishii, an Ishii win is the first step of a long journey that Hiromu would have to take to re-educate fans that he would be a serious challenge, because I think it's a big thing. That's what sells tickets. The seriousness of that challenge on top, and so that means he would have to get some very serious big wins for that Dome main event to be a reality, and I just don't think they have the time to do that right now.
Well, anyway, hopefully that was the last empty arena show that we have from New Japan. Fingers crossed all stays well. Because it's been a bit of a struggle for me, Damon. There have been very few matches where I was able to switch off that part of my brain. Like I say, Hiromu Ishii, Sho versus Shingo, Nagata Suzuki, those were all ones where I was able to momentarily forget that it was an empty arena thing. But how have you found it?
If I'm giving a letter grade, I'm giving it a B. All things considered, there were matches that I really enjoyed. Let's put it this way. To me, I think they've had some of the better empty arena shows in all of pro wrestling. There are matches that stood out. I think Nagata and Suzuki. I think Hiromu and Ishii. Those two come. And I even think Hiromu and Okada. I think Sho is on that list. There are matches that I think were really good, given the handcuffs that they were placed in. So again, these were easy watches. Joel, how great at least for me anyway. On the East Coast, 6 o'clock in the morning comes. I wake up. I go downstairs, take a piss, get something to drink. Hop right back into bed, turn on the TV, and I'm watching New Japan Pro Wrestling for an easy 2 hours. None of these shows went 4 hours. 2 hours, you're in, you're out, and you're seeing some pretty decent pro wrestling, all things considered. So I'm going to give it a solid B.
Kid Kilowatt says, now that we've seen everyone in the New Japan Cup, who do you think benefited the most and the least from the time off?
From the time off, good question. Well, least Yoshihashi. And again, I wish injury on no one. Let me make that very clear, but it's a very Yoshihashi thing for him right now, isn't it? But I think from an overall perspective, I'm going to say Sho probably benefited the most. I think a guy like Ibushi, like anybody like Zach, probably took a back seat only to further the tag situation, and I'm okay with that. Hiromu has got to come out of this looking better, right? I mean, again, he was only tapped on the shoulder once, but even Tenzan, right? You can see how well those 3 months helped him. Yuji Nagata too. So,
Makabe
yeah, I think
as well.
Makabe, yeah. So I think the dads, like I said, they were only tapped on the shoulder once or twice to go. They loved every minute of those 3 months off. That's for damn sure. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the Lions Break Collision show last night, which Damon, I know you haven't watched yet, but
I was sleeping.
You were sleeping, yeah. But I watched it. Very easy watch. It was only about 40 minutes long, so really enjoyable show. Also known as the Carl Fredericks show because. We got a question from Shingo Starters. Now that Carl Fredericks has graduated from the Young Lion ranks, how horny of a wrestler will he be? And like this whole show, Damon, was just built around Carl Fredericks. It opened with that interview with Kevin Kelly, and I think that set the scene for the kind of push that this guy's getting. So we had an opening match with Clark Connors and Alex Coughlin going to a 10-minute draw, and now that Clark Connors has grown his hair out, he looks very much like Woody Harrelson, which was quite distracting. But really good match, high pace, high impact, high intensity. You could tell these guys were just raring to go to get in that ring and put shows out for people to watch. And we had Connors give a backstage promo afterwards. He's saying he doesn't want to be the last guy to graduate from the dojo, and says he's going to win, and I quote, every gosh darn match there is, which was adorable. And then we, even in this tiny show with 2 matches, we still got an intermission on a pre-taped 2-match show. It was great. We had the LA Dojo boys doing an ad for the Gekio Jikun, the magic sponge thing, which is hilarious. Definitely worth checking out. And then in the main event, we had TJP and Carl Fredericks defeating Jeff Cobb and Rocky Romero. Carl Fredericks getting a pin over Rocky after 10 minutes and 18 seconds with a backslide. So he's got a new look, he's got a new outfit, Carl, which was actually designed by our friend Tapler. So he's looking great. He hasn't had this excursion like a lot of young lions do. And it makes me think, would he have beaten Kenta if he was set to appear during the New Japan Cup, no longer as a young lion? I wonder if they really would have strapped the rocket to him and let him defeat Kenta in his first match as a non-young lion. And I'm just curious as to what his push is going to look like. Is it going to be like on the level of someone like a Jay White, who debuted, first match back was challenging Tanahashi for the Intercontinental title at the Tokyo Dome, and admittedly he lost that, but then the next month he beats Kenny Omega clean for the US title, goes on this long run with the US title for half the year, and then a year later he's IWGP Heavyweight Champion. So I'm really curious as to how all in they are on a guy like Carl Fredericks. And in this match, he looked great. They did a really good job setting up a future Carl Fredericks versus Jeff Cobb match, because they two were going at it afterwards. And then he also delivered a really good post-match promo. He said that he's an alpha and he won't submit to anyone's leadership, like talking about factions. I thought it was a really great promo. He just looks like the total package to me, Damon. Like, if you were to make a checklist, like the criteria for a guy who's going to be a star, he's a hunk, he's tall, he's cocky, at the very least he's a good wrestler. I mean, it's maybe too early to say how he will do in serious main event extended matches. He's charismatic, he can cut a promo. Sky's the limit for this guy. So all in all, it's just very, very good opening show, easy watch, quality wrestling, set up future stories. Highly recommend it.
Nice. And you said easy watch. You said all things considered, maybe 40 minutes, you said?
If you're just watching the matches, 20 minutes. So 10 minutes for the opening match, 10 minutes, 18 seconds for the second match. But again, I do recommend watching the adverts and the promos. So yeah, the whole thing was about 40 minutes.
Give me a letter grade on production.
A. It was really good. Very slick, very professional. Nice graphics.
Okay. Nice. All right, look. I mean, that's exciting, actually. And here's the thing, that they're smart enough to use the cards they have been dealt. I mean, I don't know if this was in the works before travel restrictions and all that, but what a platform, right? And again, correct me if I'm wrong, weekly, right? This is going to be a weekly show?
Yep, that's right.
That's
and full commentary with Kevin, Chris, and Gino.
great. Look, that's smart. It really is. Again, it's just a vehicle to help get these guys over. I love it. I think it's a fantastic idea. And look, everybody had already circled Carl, especially after the Young Lions Cup. Yeah, I mean, imagine if he pulled out the fucking upset over Kenta. Talk about the Rocket. That would have been something else. Good. All right. I definitely will catch that today then. Again, 20 minutes. I can handle that. No problem. Good job by them. Good.
Okay, so we got a card for the New Japan Cup final, which will be Saturday, July the 11th at Osaka-jo Hall. So first match, we got Tomoaki Honma and Togi Makabe, Great Bash Heel, against the Young Lion team of Yuya Uemura and Yota Tsuji. So you would expect a Honma Makabe win there. And then the second match, you got Satoshi Kojima and Hiroyoshi Tenzan, Tenkoji, taking on team of Gabriel Kidd and Hiroki Goto. So I wonder, Damon, with those two seasoned, experienced tag teams due to get a win, do you think they are possibly being set up as future heavyweight tag title challengers?
Well, until we get the other troops in, they gotta find something, right? So yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised to see that in the very near future.
Third match, we have Master Wato against Doki. So we're hoping for what, like a 5-minute squash from Master Wato to show all his great martial arts kicking moves and looking like $1 million here.
I mean, look, I don't. It doesn't have to be a squash, Joel, but it's got to be a dominant win. I feel like it has to be a dominant win, or again, what's the point? Yeah, but under 5, dominant win, and let's get this back on track.
Fourth match, we have Bushi and Sanada versus Taiji Ishimori and Yujiro Takahashi. I don't know, that's not a particularly interesting match to me. It doesn't look like it's going to be setting anything up, but there you go. Got you to fill up the space somehow.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Fifth match, we have Yusuke Taguchi, Yuji Nagata, Kota Ibushi, and Hiroshi Tanahashi against Suzuki-gun team El Desperado, Minoru Suzuki, Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi. So again, we're sort of continuing this feud with Nagata and Suzuki, and also it's a preview for Ibushi Tanahashi against Zack and Taichi. So yeah, not a great deal to say about that. Sixth match, we have Sho, Yano, and Ishii against Hiromu, Shingo, and Naito. And then our seventh match is the New Japan Cup final, Kazuchika Okada versus Evil. So, Damon, what are your expectations for this match? Because they've met each other 3 times in the past, 2 G1 matches and 1 King of Pro Wrestling match. And Okada... No, I think there might be more than that, actually. I think it might be 3 G1 matches. I don't know. Let me look it up. I haven't done the research.
3-1, right? Yeah, I think
3-1.
I think Okada's 3-1, yeah.
Okay, so they have had good matches in the past. I thought last year's G1 match was really good. I thought their G1 match in 2017, where Evil got the shock win, was very good as well. Yeah, this one is interesting because I could see it going either way. I don't want to see Okada versus Naito in a third full Osaka-jo Hall, but I wouldn't rule it out because, you could see New Japan doing that as, the big comeback thing. These are our 2 top boys going out for the top prize. Yay, everyone, this is our, flagship content. But I don't want to see that. That would be disappointing to me. I would like to see Evil win. I think the match could be really good. I think the fact that I don't know who's going to win automatically makes me more interested in the match because, if you have Evil challenging Okada for the heavyweight title at King of Pro Wrestling, Evil's not winning. Evil's not going to be having that title into Wrestle Kingdom. So that does limit your enjoyment and the excitement going into the match. But the fact that it could go either way definitely adds a bit of spice to this. Are we going to see Evil going back to his cheating ways and going for punching Okada in the balls and using chairs and all that? Almost certainly. What are your thoughts going into this one?
If it's going to happen where Evil gets the win, it's going to happen on a show like this, right? You're right. If Okada's holding championship, nobody believes Evil's going to walk away with the title. So if it's going to happen on a show like this, and I think it will. I mean, I think, and again, only because I feel like it can. I mean, look, you're right. It would be the smart money to say, go with the two biggest stars, in the company in Japan right now. Put that on top, and away you go. I kind of want to see something happen with Evil. I want to see something happen with Evil. I think that's the most important thing for me. Like, to me, if Evil loses this match, I think you're actually in worse shape than if he wins. I feel like he has to win because the question then comes: if he loses, now what do you do with him? Now where is he? At least if they continue on with, okay, he beats Okada, challenges Naito, some kind of shenanigans, some kind of bullshit, whatever the case may be. Not saying Evil wins, but turn or whatever the case may be. Just to give something fresh for Evil, I think is the most important thing coming out of this cup right now. Him losing to Okada is going to do him no favors.
And we also have 3 matches, semi-confirmed for Dominion, July 12th, the next day. So we will have the IWGP Heavyweight and IWGP Intercontinental Double Championship match with Naito facing either Evil or Okada. So we're both going for Evil here, and Naito to retain his title, but some sort of shenanigans, hopefully Evil breaking away from the faction.
That's what I'm going to go with. Now, whether that happens or not, but yeah, that's what I'm going to go to the bank with.
Yeah, I just can't shake the thing. We didn't, after Wrestle Kingdom, we didn't get the big LIJ roll call.
You think we're getting a roll call? Oh, boy.
Which is weird, because I wanted one on January 5th. Not here. But I don't want one now. But no. We'll see. We also have 2 other matches confirmed. So we have got the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championship match with Tanahashi and Ibushi defending against Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr., which really excited about. If you do have Evil in that main event and you're going to have shenanigans and ball punching and chairs and that, then this can be your purest match. And I'm excited about this for the first time. I'm looking forward to the Heavyweight Tag Team Championship match. I don't care who wins. I'd be happy with either team winning.
I'm looking more forward to the tag title match than I am the heavyweight title match, no matter who it is. Now, that doesn't mean there's not going to be bullshit. It is Suzuki going. Let's keep in mind. It is Taichi. Keep that in mind. But again, to me, it's fresh. It's fun. When New Japan was put on pause, that was one of the biggest disappointments, is that we weren't getting that, because it was building up nicely to it. Yeah, I think that match will be great. I think that'll pay off for a while.
Any prediction who you see winning that?
It could go either way. I would not be shocked to see Zack and Taichi win them. Would not be shocked at all. In the same breath, I would not be shocked to see them successfully defend. I'm going to say new champs. Because here's the thing, you're not going to see a new heavyweight champion. So there's going to be a title change on this show. So I'll go to the tags. I'll say new champs.
And the third match we have confirmed is Never Openweight Championship match with Shingo Takagi defending against Sho. So do you think this is the moment where they pull the trigger on Sho, or do you think he falls short?
I think this is a fall short, but he'll look strong. He'll be strong. But again, in the same breath, it would not shock me if he did win. I don't think right now, though. And again, I'm not going to lose sleep either way. Both guys could easily hold. I don't think you're losing anything. But we'll let Shingo hold on to that for a little bit longer.
All right, well, maybe we can dip into a few questions. You let me know when you need to get out of here, Damon. Cure for Optimism says, how badly is the person that thought the Ask ZSJ hashtag was a good idea getting beaten right now? Yeah, a big failure in reading the room, for sure.
Yes. Woo. Yep. We'll leave it at that. Look, I think, yep. You ever have something happen in your life and it's just like you see it unraveling, like somebody pulling the string on the sweater? It had to be a little bit of a panic. I don't know what's going down. Yeah, there you go.
Keeping it strong, Sal says, if you could buy one piece of NJPW memorabilia, what would you buy? Cash is unlimited.
I always wanted something ring worn from Liger, whether it was the mask or the complete outfit or a shoelace. I didn't give a fuck. And I never found a way to make that happen. So it would probably be that. Anything, something else, maybe like maybe like one of the old ring skirts. Watching these shows all throughout the years, maybe one of those would be pretty cool to have. Or the white banner that hangs at Corkin, the one that's just the black paint that you see at every fucking show. Maybe that banner that hangs. We'll start there. How about you?
Gosh.
Bunny suit.
All the stuff that I wanted are things that I could easily get on a card dollar. And I just wanted one of them. I wanted to grab one at the Dome. I've never been close enough to get one. No. Yeah, maybe some Okada dollars and like the money gun thing, so I could spray the money all around my living room. But again, I could buy that easily. I don't know. That's lack of imagination here. I'll have to think about that one. But yeah,
like a robe. How about an Okada robe?
Yes. Yeah. Or maybe Naito's awesome fur coat thing that he was wearing at Wrestle Kingdom, the white one.
Right. Yeah,
the Naito.
Now you're talking.
That was pretty awesome.
Right. Imagine you walking in that hotel room. Yeah, that'd be sexy. Right. What else we got?
Dynamite Scott says, please pitch some COVID-19 paranoia themed heel tactics El Phantasmo can use when we get back.
Mist, the return of Mist. That's the one thing I'm very happy about. The lack of Mist in pro wrestling. I'm thrilled with that. So maybe if we're looking at COVID-19 tactics, Mist would be high on the list.
Handshake. What time you're not supposed to be doing handshakes. Okay, Andy says, do either of you have any favourite matches that happen on your birthday or even the day you were born? Recently discovered the Michinoku Pro Super J-Cup final from 2000 was on my second birthday. The very good main event from Liger and Shima. So, Damon, do you know off the top of your head, have you got any matches that occurred on your birthday?
No, I have no idea. I guess cage match, I'd have to go look. February 8th is the magical day. So, is there anything that happened on February 8th in pro wrestling? Not that I can think of, but I'd have to look. I'd have to specifically look, and right now I just don't have the wherewithal to be able to do that. But I'll look. I'll see. But nothing comes to mind. Sorry.
Right, I'm going to open up this day in wrestling history, July 17th. Let's see. That's rubbish. There's nothing interesting here. Hiroshi Tanahashi defeated Giant Bernard in the finals of a one-night tournament to win the vacated IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Wait. I got one.
Yep.
Daniel Bryan retires on February 8th, apparently. Also, apparently, Pedro Morales defeated Ivan Koloff to win the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Championship.
Mm-hmm. I've got some more stuff here. Terry Gordy defeated Stan Hansen to win the Triple Crown Championship.
That's good.
That's good. Other stuff is like Nitro tapings and let's get that. Okay, Adam Wilson says, my wife just admits she fancies the bag of socks that is Yoshihashi. Valid grounds for divorce. I don't know about this. Like, I think he's quite an ugly looking man, but he does seem to have some sort of charisma. Well, not charisma, that's the wrong word.
Really?
But there is a group. He does seem to have a little group of very dedicated fans who seem to adore him for whatever reason. I don't understand it, but it's not unheard of. You know, like that lady who was moved to tears, openly weeping in that G1 documentary because of how much she cared about Yoshihashi.
I mean, there's got to be something to be said about like how much of a loser he is, that he gets that sympathy, I guess, maybe. Maybe people see a little bit of themselves in that, you know, as hokey as it may sound, that, you know, he finds ways to fuck things up, but he still comes back for more, I guess. I don't think he's an attractive man, to be quite honest with you. But who am I to judge? He just does nothing for me. I don't know. I mean, hey, listen, there's people that get thrilled when they get a fucking bag of socks underneath the Christmas tree, right? There's people out there, right? So, different strokes.
Wrestling with My Girl says, is it just me or has brawling taken over pro wrestling? At least in the States, it feels like it. It's one thing to have a few matches on the card, but it feels like the majority for some promotions is every match.
I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. I don't think you would say that about the Okada matches, right? I mean, to a fault. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to get some specific examples from that person, but I don't think it's taken over in any real sense. I mean, if you turn on AEW, it is they love the car crash element. You know that the American indie car crash element is definitely there. But I don't know if it's every match. I don't know if it's necessarily taken over. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that one.
Jimmy says, scenario for Damon, would you rather live in a world where New Japan never existed or a world where the Smiths/Morrissey never existed?
Ooh, fuck. Wow. That's a hard-hitting question there. Good questions this week. Fuck. Whew. Okay. I would say a world... Like, the Smiths are one of my favorite bands of all time, but they're not my favorite band. So I could find other great music to have, right? And if the Smiths weren't around, then I would have other things to compensate. And yes, I could find other great pro wrestling, but I think consistently for me, New Japan has always been my favorite promotion. So, like, if the Smiths were my favorite band, we might have a different conversation, but they're one of my favorite bands. So I would say a world without the Smiths.
Shane says, with a truncated schedule, is this finally time for a consolidated open-weight tag league? I think that's a great idea.
I do too.
I'll tell you what, Damon, one thing we didn't mention, with Roppongi 3K out the window for now, wouldn't this be the perfect time to actually just get rid of the junior tag team titles completely and just have open weight tag titles?
I'm a fan of less belts than more, but it does give those juniors who aren't in the heavyweight or in the singles picture, it does give them something to do. But yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'm a big fan of less belts. So, and again, continuing of that blurring of the line, I'd be okay with that. I really would. And here's the thing: you kind of got a taste with that with the Bucks, even though they said they were going to be heavyweights and blah blah blah. Nobody really thought of them as heavyweights, more of as juniors who, kind of like what we have right now for the singles titles. Yep, I'd be okay with that, 100%.
All right, two more questions. Griffin says, what are your thoughts on the Brody King G1 run?
There was a lot of talk in the past. They were high on him. Everybody that we talked to, Joel, was high on him.
I don't think I've ever seen him in a singles match, though.
I could have sworn he was. When he was walking out there with Marty. It might have been just tagged. I could have sworn there was at least one. It might have been, maybe I'm mistaken. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's come and gone, though. I don't know if that time has come and gone. I would be shocked. I don't know if shocked is the right word. I would be surprised if Brody King is in G1 this year.
Yeah, I think next year possibility, but this year probably too soon, given that he's been injured and all the travel shenanigans going on. All right, last question for today then. Khan the Viper says, who is your pick for this year's G1?
It really depends on who's here.
I'm just going to go with a chalk pick and say, okay, I'm going to give you a chalk pick. Okay, pick from the head and a pick from the heart. Pick from the head, Okada. Pick from the heart, Hiromu.
Wow, you think Hiromu's in, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe they do the best of the G1 climax open weight mishmash thing.
I'm going to say, all right, head and heart. Head would be Okada. Heart, how about Shingo?
I would be down with that. I just feel like we're at a point where the brand value of January 4th, Wrestle Kingdom, Tokyo Dome is so high that any match they put, I mean, not any match, but any match between two quality heavyweights, that show's going to sell out either way. And Naito against Shingo last year in the G1 was a lot of people's favourite match, or certainly in their shortlists. So with the right builds, sure, I could see it.
Joel, have they officially announced January 4th yet?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Again, we're in troubling times.
Uncertain
That
times. You can't say troubling, it's
Uncertain
too
time.
negative.
Okay, uncertain. Okay. Is that troubling to you? Is that concerning to you at all?
No, not really. I'm sure they'd be mad not to do it. I mean, they've managed to put on a Dominion this year, and look at all the shit that's going
Good
on.
point. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. All right, listen, I'm just putting it out there. I haven't heard an official date yet, so just FYI.
Okay, well, that's all we have time for today. So you can visit redcircle.com/shows/super-j-cast if you want to throw some money our way, show some love for the great free content we put out there week after week, even when we're stuck in hotels and pandemics and childbirth and depression and all the other shit that comes our way. Show us some love. Put your hand in your pocket. You can join our Discord as well to join all the fun chat going on there. The link to that is in the show notes and on Twitter. ProWrestlingTees.com/SuperJcast if you want to get one of our great t-shirts. Also, if anyone can suggest an alternative website where I can put my Scampy Club design up, because PWT won't host it, let me know, because I do want to start making some money out of that, because otherwise I've just done a vanity commission to Tapler for no reason whatsoever. Massive thanks as always to editor Dan. You can find him on Twitter at LousyHero219. You can also subscribe to the Voices of Wrestling podcast network for other great shows. Please give us a 5-snake review on iTunes and some nice words, because it does help us move up the rankings. Follow us on Twitter at the SuperJcast. Thank you everyone for listening, and goodbye.